Great.
Welcome, everyone, to Art Talk, where artists talk about their art practice. I'm Courtney Adair Johnson, the gallery director in the Department of Art and Design at Tennessee State University. We're excited to have Norman Wyatt Jr. here for our Art Talk. Welcome. I'll read a short bio and then hand it over to him, and then we'll finish up with a Q&A. The chat is open. So Norman Wyatt Jr. has created original designs along with his fine art and modern art prints. Working with home furnishing and decor brands, Wyatt has developed top-selling imagery, decorative accessories, and furniture for the home furnishing industry for over 20 years. Through his partnerships with leading manufacturers, national retail chains, and high-end catalogs, Wyatt's work can be found for sale in a variety of online marketplaces and the top 100 retailers and at design showrooms across the globe. In April 2024, Norman Wyatt Home is proud to announce the newest collaboration with StyleCraft Home Collection. Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much.
Yes. All right. It's all yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Glad to be here and glad to Professor De La Reese for Oscar. No, I'm sorry. Last name again. To the professor for allowing me to participate and just to inspire and hopefully give some insight to my career path and to everything that I'm working on or everything I have worked on to get to this point. So it's a long story, but I'm gonna make it brief so we can have time for Q&A and for any other, any type of insights or anything. But like as once again, I'm artist and designer. I can call myself designer now, lifestyle designer, Norman Wyatt Jr. I've been in the decor industry and the art industry for over 20 plus years. I actually been painting and designing and creating since early childhood. Um, but as far as professionally, my professional artist and designer has been 20 years now. Um, just to give a little insight, I've always been a painter and an artist and always knew that I wanted to, have a career in fine art. Didn't know exactly what direction it would go or, you know, what to actually do as a career. I didn't want to be a starving artist as you hear a lot and didn't really know what approach to go by to be an actual fine artist for a full-time career. But art and painting and drawing and sculpting and just all of the creative part of me was just so strong that I knew that was my passion and that's what I wanted to follow. So I ended up going to Virginia State University and I got a degree, a bachelor's degree in fine art and design. And once I graduated after 4 years, it was okay. What did I do next for a career? How do I make a living off of being an artist? In some bigger city, I'm from Virginia, and I still live in Virginia. But some bigger cities and some areas might have some jobs available for actual creatives like painters and artists. But I knew that my journey was going to be a little different, and so it was more or less just trying to figure out what did I do next. Um, so literally, to be honest, it took me about a year plus to find a job after graduating, just trying to find not to scare anybody, but just to try to find something that was relating to anything relating to what I was doing. I ended up taking a teaching job, and I didn't go to school. My studies weren't in art education, but I had a chance to have a full time salary and benefits, and I was teaching art to elementary kids, K through 4. So I said, well, I'll do this to have a career, make some money, take care of my bills and my family at the time, and I could also still create when I want to. So I thought it was a good setup. So I ended up teaching elementary art, and I actually taught at my old. Ended up going back to the elementary school that I went to. Um, Third grade all the way up to sixth grade. So I taught elementary art for 6 years, and it was amazing because while I was teaching art, um, I wanted to make sure I was always painting and creating, and I always had a chance to, stay active in my actual, fine art. So I had a table set up in the classroom, and anytime I had a break in between classes, or any type of space where there were a couple of hours or more, I was in that corner painting and creating and just constantly working on different types of art. And because I was around art students, or I mean to around youth, I was trying not to paint anything too heavy or too complex. But I just developed, I was working on landscapes, still lifes, abstracts, things like that. And after a while, so I actually was a picture framer while I was in college. So I picked up framing, and I did recognize that a lot of artists were selling reproductions and prints and copies of their work, whether like personally, directly, or on a massive scale. So I always had art publishing in the back of my mind too, as a possible avenue. So after pretty much working at the school and getting paid to teach art, I was also in my on my breaks creating this huge portfolio of images, and I took that portfolio and I submitted it to an art publisher. The first publisher denied me or turned it down, said they weren't really ready to work with me. And instead of quitting, I just kept working on more stuff. And then a few months later, I submitted to another art publisher, and I ended up getting the art publishing contract immediately. And for those who are not familiar with art publishing, is pretty much companies that mass produce your art and sell it to stores, online sources, catalogs, hotels, all those type of places. They need artwork to, mass produce or to sell, frame, mass produce, sell it, put it in stores and all that. So you get a royalty off of it. So once I got the first contract, and that was my fourth year of teaching, it quickly started growing. And it was amazing because I've always made a decision years back. I made a decision years back that I didn't want to limit myself with a certain type of art or a certain look. And I had an idea of, or a vision of wanting to be very mainstream, to the point of creating work that could be on a mass level, and not so much commercially planning it that way. It's just I didn't want to be stuck into a black artist or African American artist. I just created what I loved. I've always loved fashion, design, even automotive design, shoes, watches, just all types of modern design I've always loved. So when I got my first publishing contract, I was the only black artist out of like 200 in the company. But for some reason, my style and my look ended up being recognized quickly amongst the art buyers for the stores, and it just kind of pushed my work in front of a lot of other artists that were already there. And before I knew it, I was able to walk around in stores and see my art hanging in stores, and online, a few commercials and all types of things. It's really rewarding. So it got to the point where the teaching was not as enjoyable as the creating side. I wanted to paint more than I taught, which I knew that probably would happen, but I had to make a choice of, do I divide my time for security, or do I go ahead and take a leap of faith and put 100% of my time into the art, or into the publishing part? So another side of the art publishing that really introduced me to another world was art licensing. And art licensing is pretty much like it sounds, like a license to drive or a license to do something. Permission is giving companies and manufacturers and companies that produce other products besides art. It gives them the right to use your artwork on their products. So all my years of college, I never heard anything about that. Didn't know anything about it. I didn't realize that artists were designing rugs and textiles and wallpaper, shower curtains, pillows, bedding. I mean, it's so broad. At this point, it's like it's just such a broad category of product licensing. What artwork can be used for. So that same publishing company that I had a deal with for the reproduction of my art, I signed a separate contract for them to pretty much be like an agent to shop my art around to all the different manufacturers and companies that needed artwork to make their products. So that was like a separate royalty. So long story short, my 6 year of teaching, I decided that I was going to leave to pursue the art full time. So, at this point, I had two kids, a house, cars, all this type of thing. But I took this huge leap of faith, talked to my wife. She thought I was crazy at first. And then, when it got down to making that final decision, she pretty much said, "This is your chance. You've been dreaming of this. Go for it." So I'm so thankful for that support. But took that leap of faith and became a full-time artist, which was a little scary, and you know had some discouragement from family members and people that were close to me, and other people that knew how long it took to finally get a good job. That I was taking this leap of faith to leave it, and a few people telling me I don't think it's a good idea to try to make a living off of art. You got a family to take care of, you got all this, but the drive and the passion and the vision was so heavy inside of me and so prominent that I jumped and took that leap. So it was amazing because the first year doing art full time, I ended up doubling my teacher salary, and that was a combo of the art publishing, the art licensing, and then I had time to create artwork for the gallery scene, so I was making money off of the original art too. Second year, did the same thing, made around the same, doubling my salary. And then 2007 hit, and it was a rough year. Like, economy tanked, people were losing their homes, and just everything was really bad. So that affected my royalties and my sales. So that was a rough year. I'm not gonna lie, But I purposely, this is crazy to some, but I purposely didn't finish what I needed to continue to teach, so I would never have to go back to teaching. Because I'm not the type. I don't believe in falling back on stuff. I believe in having multiple avenues of what you can do and different flows and different streams of income, and just having a variety of what's possible for your career. But I just didn't want to go back. I left for a reason, so I didn't want to go back. So we got through that year, and by the end of that year, I ended up finding a studio art job right in my area, like 30 minutes from where I live, where a local company was starting a new art division, like publishing division. And I ended up getting, because I had done so much previously with my other publisher, I was able to use that to get this new job. And because I painted so many different looks and styles and, was able to produce a lot quickly and get a lot done, instead of them hiring two or three artists, they paid me two salaries. They combined two salaries to pay me to do the work of two or three artists. So that was a great year because now my wife, we had our third child at the time. So she was able to come off her job to be with the baby. And I was able to supply or take care of the family, and just to, take care of everything, doing art full time. And it was crazy because I was learning so much more now because I wasn't in my house painting. I was at a studio around other artists, and I started traveling to trade shows and, meeting buyers from this store and from this company, meeting owners of this gallery and this frame company. I had access to emails from art directors from Crate and Barrel and Pottery, all these big companies that need art. I had direct access to them. And it was amazing because, previously just working from home, I would just send my original art off. It would get photographed or captured, and then I would hear later where it was going, what store, what place. But now going to this job, I was able to really get a lot more access. So networking is huge. I save that for later during the questions, but networking is huge. So I was able to meet face to face. And it was funny because, I'm painting in my house for a couple of years. And then to have some of the buyers or people that were constantly buying my work excited to meet me and shake my hand and all excited, it was just kind of weird to me because I'm kind of humble when it comes to all of that. I'm just excited to do what I'm doing, but that was kind of weird to know that people literally follow you in that work in that decor world. And if you're a top seller, and I was blessed to sell really well, kind of early, they recognize you for you made a lot of money for our company. So they really recognize you and all that. So someone told me years ago, matter of fact, the owners of this company I was talking about that I was working with told me when you get to the point where the art buyers in the industry recognizes your name and your look with your name, then you're really going to go far. So, it's thousands and thousands of other creatives doing what I was doing, but to try to stand out and have something unique was a recognizable look was hard, but I was blessed to be able to have that look. So So to make it quick, after a year of working with this company and traveling to trade shows and meeting people face to face, and having all this inside connections with the core world. I'm a minister too, so I'm very spiritual and I hear God's voice at times. So that's another reason why my faith level to jump out and do certain things is where it was. But one morning, I was filling out my 401k info for the job. It was a day less than a year, and I was all excited to get this next level going. And I was painting early in the morning by myself, and I heard the voice of God say, "Prepare for a change or a major change." 2 hours later, I was laid off, and maybe 9 other people were laid off. And it was a shock because I just gotten a job and was all excited about the growth. The salary was really good, like really good as an artist, making almost six figures painting. I mean, that was crazy. 2000, this is 2009. And literally now to lose it, I was confused. Like, why in the world did I go through all this and get to this point and finally heading to another direction and then lose the job? And I even asked God, like, what was this about? Like, why was it such a miracle to get this job and then to lose it like that? And I heard God respond to me and say, "You're concerned about, 80 some $1,000 job, and I'm trying to make you a millionaire." And after that, everything kind of like switched. My whole vision, my mindset, my point of view of what I was doing changed. And it switched to, okay, I'm going to do something different in this industry. I'm not going to be locked in anymore to an exclusive art contract with one company. I'm not going to have anyone dictate how I create and how I design and how I do business. I want to do something unique and different, and I'm going to figure this out. So I literally prayed. I asked for vision on business, and I didn't have any type of business degree. I had a fine arts degree, but I asked for vision on business. I asked for the mindset of a lawyer to understand contracts, to negotiate, and all these types of things. So just to make it quick, you know, by a couple of months, I had networked and reached out to this company that I met at the job that laid me off, and a mother and son team out of Chicago. I'm in Virginia, and I negotiated some deal where I was painting for them full time and creating for them working out of my house. So I was able to create, and then because I said I'll never get locked into an exclusive contract again, I ended up negotiating where I could create for them exclusive art, but still have the right to work with other companies too. So a couple of months later, I had a second contract. So every contract is a possibility for royalty. So within a few years, I had like maybe 5 or 6 art publishing contracts. So I was making well into six figures painting right out of my house and enjoying what I love to do, and not just making the money and the security of that part, but just growing my name into the industry and getting into places and getting into a range of companies that never heard of me before. Now I was into all these just a wide range of companies, online places like Overstock, Wayfair, Amazon, and then also selling to your big box stores like Target, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Walmart, all those type of places, and then selling to the kind of mid range like Crate and Barrel, Hoardchild, um, Pottery Barn, Our House, West Elm, all those different ranges of places. I was one guy creating right out of my house and having art in all these different places. So to streamline the conversation, then it got to the point where I was doing so many different types of art, so many different looks, and I was being trained almost like to having to do this for a career was training me to be more diverse and to be very open to all different styles. So after a while, I almost became like a one-man art publishing company all by myself because I was able to do landscape, still lifes, photorealistic, wildlife patterns, textures, all these different looks. I was one person, and it puzzled a lot of people in the industry when they were trying to figure out, how was I one person doing all of this by myself? But it just came from years and years of having to do this. So it got to the point where around 2015, 2016, I started thinking of, suppose I try to do this myself. So, I contemplated the idea for a while. I went to visit a publisher out in, two different publishers out in Illinois, two different ones, and wanted to really get a look at, I was visiting, but I was also trying to kind of spy on their operation. I wanted to see how they ran business, their equipment they were using, how many employees they had their warehousing, just all of that. And on the plane ride back from the second one, I was so inspired because the owner was an immigrant from Russia, and he talked about starting this $10 million art publishing company from him and his friend just being in their garage in a townhouse and having one printer and starting with that. So on my flight home from Chicago, I remember just saying, I'm gonna do it myself. I got to figure this out. This is all my art. I just got to figure this out, like how I'm gonna do it. I'm always a type, it's two types of people. You have those who just say, it's hard, but I can't do it. And you have someone that says it's hard, but I'm gonna figure out what I need to do. And I'm that type. Like it's hard, but I'm gonna figure it out. And I got back home, and the first thing I did was start my home decor name, Norman Wyatt Home. I didn't have one product, I didn't have anything, but I said I'm gonna start with creating the name and the logo, and I trademarked it myself. I figured out how to do that, and I had a brand started with nothing to it, no products, but at least I said I'm starting a home decor brand because my vision was not just art. I wanted to do a lot of different things. I wanted to design more, but all I had at the time was just the name Norman Wyatt Home. I'm like, this is what I'm going by from this point. And me networking and just doing what I do, I started reaching out on LinkedIn. And if you don't have a LinkedIn account, please do one when this Zoom meeting is over. That's life. It could be life changing. But I reached out to an art buyer on overstock.com, and I pretty much reached out to her and asked, how do I become an art buyer? How do I get my art on Overstock? And I met with her at one of the markets, and by October of that year, I had my art directly on Overstock. And then a couple of months later, the next part of the year, I was on Wayfair. So now here I am, one person in my garage, over my garage in my studio, creating, but I'm also selling on Overstock and Wayfair directly. So now my home decor brand, even though it was just canvas wall decor, I established something and had some art and had a product that I was selling under my brand. So it went from a few images to growing and growing to hundreds and hundreds. And I literally was one person competing with the big major art sources online, and my art was rising to the top pages right along with them. And I was one guy just painting in the house, so, but I knew I wanted to do more with that. I was like, I want to do more. So, I've been around the decor world so much, and around the furniture and the accessories, the pillows, the rugs, all these types of things. And I've always had vision. And going back a little bit, I did a few licensing deals in the past where some companies were using my art to make, products and whatnot. So I did have some bedding and a few rugs and stuff like that and pillows, but I wanted to take it to the next level. So I got really aggressive on LinkedIn as far as networking and trying to grow my reach, maybe like 2019, to be honest. And I started really, I wasn't using LinkedIn correctly. I was just kind of looking around and making connections here and there. And then I realized it's like Facebook and Instagram where I could start showing stuff or making posts. So I started doing a lot of posts of my art almost daily, just trying to grow it and grow it. And I grew my connections from probably 150 to now over maybe 6,000 plus and constantly growing. But now I had an audience of business people. This LinkedIn is all business. So I had all these business people in the industry and other industries, but just people in business. And you have moguls, you have CEOs, you have regular employees, you have owners of this company, you have art directors, you have this vast range of people in the creative business, but other types of business, all watching what you post. So I just ended up growing a following pretty big of all types of people in the creative industry. And some of them remember me from my art in the past and said they had care of my art. And just, it just really grew. So one night, to tell you where I am now, one night, the end of 2019, I was looking around on LinkedIn and I came across a company called StyleCraft. And I looked them up and researched them a little bit, and they made everything from furniture to pillows, artwork, accessories like pottery, vases, sculptures, mirrors, sofas, chairs, sideboards. They made everything. The only thing they didn't make was bedding and rugs, but they pretty much made almost every kind of home decor product you could imagine. So the first thing I did was, after looking around and seeing what they made, I found the CEO of the company. And a lot of times on LinkedIn, a CEO really doesn't have time to respond to everybody, or they might just don't want to respond. They might not want to respond to you, so they ignore you or just kind of, not respond. But this CEO responded, and he asked me. He looked around and said, "I saw what you have. I saw your posts. I saw that your family is also creative. My three children are artists and designers and stuff, doing all types of creative stuff." And he said, "I see that your whole family is creative too, and I like everything you post. I like your art, and pretty much I like you. A lot of it is relationship too." But he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I saw that you work with designers, and you have designer collections and all that." I said, "I want to do everything, and everything you do and make. I would love to create and design and do it under my own brand through you or with you, like a partnership." So it went from a discussion online to him saying, "Well, let's start with just some art. Let's get that going first, and then we'll discuss the other thing." So I started with a few images early 2020 and got some stuff going. And of course, COVID hit and everything kind of got sidetracked. So I was reaching out, constantly reaching out, trying to discuss the next step of the products and the whole, designer collection. But, ended up being, not really hearing much for a whole year or more. So I thought that was kind of done. And I kind of just say, "Oh, well, I tried, I'll move on." One thing about me, I get a lot of no's in life. You get no's and you get rejection, or you get not now, maybe later type things. But I'm just constantly working on something. I'm just working and working and creating. So around, you know, spring of 2021, I suddenly got an email saying, "We came across," this was the product development head. "We came across all of your art. We love your stuff. We want to know if we can do more." And before I knew it, my wife and I were flying to Memphis, Tennessee to meet the CEO and all the people that work in the company. And we sat down and discussed the possibilities of doing a full lifestyle brand or full lifestyle collection. And the CEO said, "Let me think about it tonight. Let me discuss. Let me think over how I want to work with you." And he came back the next morning with a tablet and wrote down everything, had written out everything. And he said, "You know what? I want to do a full lifestyle brand with you. Everything we make, I want you to design it." So I mind you, I had never done any lamp design or furniture design or mirrors or any of those types of products. I was an artist, but I had vision and ideas and a lot of concepts always in my head. But now he was telling me, "Everything we make from you, we want you to design it." He said, "I want to blow it up big. I want to do a full, hundreds and hundreds of products constantly being added and growing your brand. We want to give you a full lifestyle brand." So I went from just the concept of being an artist and a painter to now not just being a furniture designer or a product designer, but now being the owner or the face of a lifestyle brand. So I accepted that challenge. That was a little scary because now was, you have to show what you can really think of, what you can do. But I accepted that challenge, got back home, and we flew back out there again a month later to talk a little bit more. And it was kind of more or less still filling out the relationship because, like I said, a lot of it is relationship. Because this company or this person is investing in you, and you're going to be the face of one of the faces of that company, and so it was some relationship there too. But anyway, after getting back home, maybe like the end of May, it was like, okay, start designing. And I literally was like, okay, I have to design lamps and sofas and all that, but I got a tablet and my pencil, and I prayed once again for vision, and I just started working. And it went from the CEO saying, "Okay, I know the art you can do. I've seen all of that. I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure of your designs for furniture and art and all that type of. Furniture and lamps and all that. So let's kind of take it slow. Let's do a few to get going." It went from that conversation and that concern and awareness to me designing so many things he loved that it went from let's do a few lamps to me end up having a full exclusive lamp collection with the company separately from my collection. I ended up launching in April after almost 3 years of designing and conceptualizing, drawing and picking out fabrics and metals and this finish and ceramic or poly or, I want this size, just a lot of details to it. I went from, kind of let's start off slow to launching over 153 products at High Point Market in April of this year. So it was like the biggest launch they've ever done for a company, for their company as far as a designer. They had about three other designers they were working with, and I was the third. And once again, the only African American in the mix, which is not like purposely set up like that. It's just the diversity of where I am in my field and what I do. There are a lot of African Americans out there creating and doing things, but I'm still trying to find another one. I've been doing some research, but I still believe I'm the only African American male with a full lifestyle brand that will be in stores, major stores. And that's starting to get around in stores. Like, and when I say lifestyle brand, not just, art collection or this kind of deal, but I'm talking about like actually having furniture and mirrors and art and sofas and all that type of stuff branded under my name and my logo and all that type of thing. So it's such a privilege and a blessing. But for the fine artists that are listening, I literally had no background in furniture design or engineering or product development or AutoCAD or drafting or anything like that, or even graphic arts, to be honest. I just have vision of what I can see stuff and I draw it out into details. So this company, I was so blessed to be with a company that said, all we need you to do is draw it out. Whatever you draw on paper and give us the details of the material and how you want it to look, we will make it, you know? So that's like a dream come true where if I draw a lamp and I design it and I come up with the color scheme and I pick out, the size and the shape I want, the lampshade, I want nickel or brass or antique gold, whatever it is. Um, they literally make it. They have a whole team in China of they have factories that make everything I could ever come up with. There were a few things that I thought of that just couldn't be made, like floating lamp, just crazy stuff. But most of the times, anything I draw out, they make it. So it's just such a privilege being a fine artist first. And the blessing with that, most designer collections or most people in the design world that have lifestyle collections usually are either celebrities that are already, pretty famous, or someone on one of the decor shows that might have a show, HGTV or Magnolia, one of those kind of shows. They will usually get a lifestyle collection, or maybe even like someone high up, like an influencer or something. But I was blessed being a fine artist first. So most of those, I was saying that most of those people from that world most of them aren't actual artists too. So they have to have someone translate their ideas, or sometimes they just literally put their face and their name onto an existing product or an idea. But me coming from a fine art background, I was told by the head of product development that I got so much stuff done or so many products released because I eliminate a whole step in between where whatever I draw out is so detailed and so ready to go that they just start making it. So I eliminate a whole step in between of translating my idea, trying to figure it out, and making sure it's right. So all those years of training in the decor in the fine art world, the painting and the art publishing world was literally training for this next level. So I'm at the point now where there are four major trade shows in the decor world, and these shows are where all the buyers for stores, hotels, interior designers come, people in the decor industry, just anyone in that industry you can name, they come to the markets to see what's coming out or what's for purchase now, so that they can put it in their stores or in their places. So there are four major trade shows: High Point, North Carolina, Dallas market, Vegas market, and Atlanta market. So now being, the face to my own lifestyle brand, now my time and energy has changed where I'm designing, painting, creating, but I'm also now having to attend these markets to represent my brand, to be there to meet the buyers. Back in April, I had literally to do presentations in front of buyers for Home Goods, Macy's, Lazy Boy. This is amazing. Like, I'm just in a position that I'm talking to the buyers and just explaining and showing them around and giving them insight on my creations and my vision of what I'm working on. But still, just a blessing to be in this position. At this point, I know we have to give some time for questions, but at this point, I'm just growing my lifestyle brand. I launched like 150 plus products in April, And this company wants me to constantly keep adding a few more products to the collection, just growing it and growing it to the point of, one of the designers before me, about 3 years ahead of me, has about 700 plus products. So, I'm foreseeing that I'll probably have close to that or maybe even more, depending on, how much I'm able to get out, produce and everything. So, at this point, adding more products, just kind of, always trying to build the collection, adding more things. Some stuff that might not sell well, we just move it out of the line, and something else is always being added and taken over. But this is literally like a dream come true because it just opens up, not just the avenue for business and resources, finances, and all that, but now this gives me, this opens up the avenue for me to do more on the scale of, more products, more ideas. So now that I have a full lifestyle collection out, now it's possible for companies or other partnerships for furniture, for um, rugs, for fashion, for shoes, for watches, all these other things. Eyewear. I'm already talking to an eyewear company for a designer collection. I'm talking to a wallpaper company, talking to a rug company next week. Just having this tangible proof of what you're able to do on this scale now opens up doors for other design and creative avenues. So I'm just excited, and hopefully, I gave you all some insight on the possibilities of being an artist and a creative, what's possible. And it's very rare, I'm gonna be honest, to get a full lifestyle deal, but it's not impossible, And it's all about connections and networking, and then representing yourself to a point of showing what you do, but it's more about overall visual of you as a brand too. And will a company want to connect with you on, something on this scale? So you got to think of those type of things too when you represent yourself. Can you see yourself as a brand or a face of this company, or having your own, whatever it is you want to do with your career? So that was a lot of talking, but hopefully it was some good insight. And, I would love to hear any questions that you all might have.
Okay, a lot of the students submitted questions online, but before we get to those, I was going to ask the students that are here, since what they did was kind of research you and your background, develop these questions. So they had them ahead of time, and some of those I think you answered during your presentation. But I'm going to ask for students to raise their hand if they have a specific question right now. Okay, hang on.
And you can hear okay, Norman?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to let the student say their name and ask their question.
Hey, my name is Blake Younger, and I was wondering, so what is something that you normally did to help market yourself and get yourself out there besides just LinkedIn and going to different art shows and stuff like that?
Yeah. So the art brand of the art publishing that I started with really helped get my name out there. It was a way for the people in the industry, the decor industry. I can't walk down the street and people just run up to me and know me from art like that. It's not that type of level, but people in the design industry, would recognize your art and your name. So the art publishing really helped as far as getting my art into stores, into the faces of buyers and all that type of thing, or into the hands of the buyers. Just help broadcast it. But the next side is broadcasting and showing your work on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and just constantly showing what you do, and growing as much of your reach as you can, because all of that helps too. There's some companies that might want to partner with you or collaborate or do even some ambassadorship type thing, but they'll look at your social media sometimes, how many followers you have, and that might determine if they even want to work with you, which is you might have some amazing skills and style and whatever, but if someone has 1 million followers or 800,000 followers or whatever, they feel like if we work with this person, it's going to help grow our brand more too. So, that's important too, just to constantly broadcast and show. It's like commercials almost, showing what you do, post your work, show the world what you're working on. because you just never know who's looking and watching. You just never know. You just never know. So beyond LinkedIn, LinkedIn is the one that's been, I would say, very amazing as far as connecting directly to people in the industry that you're trying to work with. But yeah, so social media posting, I've done some art shows and stuff like that too. But as far as for my field and for what I'm doing with the lifestyle brand, a lot of it was LinkedIn and all of it was LinkedIn. Just have it, but then I had to have something to show the CEO that was possible for me to work with him. I had to have something to show the possibilities of what I can do if I collaborate with you. So posting and showing what you do is very important.
Okay, we have another question, and then I'll try to get to the online ones before we go.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
How are you?
I just want to start off by saying it took this assignment for me to realize that I've been looking at your art for years in households that, I've grown up in. I have a friend that moves, like she'll get.
I lost the audio.
We came from the same school, graduating and everything. But I'll go ahead and get to the question. When you initially start a piece, whether that's furniture or just painting, do you know how it's going to finish, or do you just free flow into the end and then just know that's it?
So a lot of times I have an idea of what I'm working on, but a lot of it is kind of like figuring out as you go. So with my fine art, I do original art. You might see some paintings behind me. I do original art and I do, art for the publishing and all that. So I have an idea a lot of times of what I'm trying to do and what I want to do. And I might even, a lot of times I'll sketch it out first, the concept. But then, as you're creating, sometimes it turns out a little differently than you expect. The lamps and all that type of thing, like the furniture, the lamps, the design. It's a funny story. One time I was watching Jeopardy with the family. We're just chilling, the whole family, 5 of us. And suddenly I had this lamp idea and I was just like writing in the air like this. And they thought I was insane because they're like, what are you doing? I said, I had this lamp idea came to my head. I'm trying to figure it out before I draw it on paper. So yeah, some of it is already like kind of established in my head of how I want it to look. But then a lot of it is kind of like as you're going, But one thing about being an artist, for me anyway, is like seeing it up here first and then trying to have your hands bring it to life. So I hope I answered your question, but yeah, that's how I work. A lot of times is I have a vision and idea of how I want it to turn out, but then sometimes in the middle of it, you figure things out and it sometimes comes out better than what you originally thought.
Okay, she said yes, she did answer her question.
Yeah.
Okay. She had submitted some online as well, so I'm going to skip her online questions. This question is from Shanice Jones. She's in class, but she submitted this online. Okay. And one of her questions is, what challenges did you face at the start of your career versus those challenges you face now?
So, as I mentioned in my presentation, first starting, like after graduating with a degree in fine art, the next question was, what do I do with this? I want to paint and create. Who's hiring me to paint and create for them? So starting off, so I will say to any creative, and I tell this, I speak at schools and stuff like that sometimes, and my own children are creative. Anyone that's on a creative journey, you can't necessarily expect everything to be so straightforward. Like someone with a different degree might just get a job immediately or have a path that's laid out. It's okay to have, a variety of things going on as long as you keep your vision going. So if you have a full-time job doing something that's not really in interior design or art, just make sure like you're taking care of your finances and everything, but just make sure you have that, what people say, 5 to 10 job. You keep your design going. You keep that going. You constantly work on that on the side. So for me, one of the challenges up front was just trying to find a career as a fine artist and a painter. So I took a teaching job just to make sure I was somewhat still in the art field, but I made sure I was constantly working and painting. Some of the other challenges can be the inconsistency of royalties, the amount, is not always the same. It fluctuates. And then selling original art, sometimes you don't have most of the times you have to find a buyer or you have to connect with the right person ready to spend thousands of dollars on a painting. So that's some of the challenges. So I figured out a system a while back about the multiple flows, where no matter what, I had something coming in from art, whether it was from the royalties, from the original art, from part-time, whatever it was. At this point, my challenges now um, is just the growth part of what I'm working on, and just it's a wait period. A lot of the stuff I develop, and this kind of determines who's able to make it in all of this. The field is like a pipeline on a lot of stuff. So I might develop some lamps and pottery or furniture now. I might not see it actually made and ready for sale for a year and a half to 2 years. It just depends. It's such a pipeline. It's not right away, especially being made overseas, and it has to be shipped. Then I have to approve it or not and see it and make sure it's right. So I would say that would be one of the challenges, like right at this point. And then trying to constantly grow your business to the next level. Like, I'm so excited for what I'm doing, but I'm already thinking about the next stage of where I want things to go. So you're always kind of trying to stay on top of things and just keep up with what you're constantly working on, but always thinking of the next thing, of how it's going to enhance what you're doing now.
I have Jaden Taylor. Jaden, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Hi, my name is
Hello.
Jaden Taylor.
Hi,
A part of
Jaden.
my assignment was to write 150 words about how your art and design can connect to my definition of art. And
Okay.
my definition of art is about personality, your empathy and emotion, like that gets put into the art piece. So how do
Okay.
you think that empathy, emotions tie into your art pieces and designs, or just your career field as a whole?
So I have like two different worlds I'm in when it comes to my design. It all connects, but so the decor stuff, like painting art for a store, or making sure that this certain art might be needed, like landscapes, abstract still, like certain things are needed. So I call that design. Like, I'm designing what's needed for this certain subject or that market. So I still have some emotion in that, but it's more or less just creating what's needed and just making sure I still do it in a certain look or a certain style. But when I create my fine art, like the gallery art, I have a separate world, a separate look for that. And like I mentioned before, I'm in the ministry. I'm an elder, actually. So a lot of my original art is spiritually based, biblically based, and I do it in Cubist abstract. I'm really into that. Like, that's the style I developed over the years, and now that's just the direction I'm in. So that whole world is very emotional, and I've heard people even say that my paintings are almost prophetic to them. Like, some of the stuff that I'm showing or painting is almost like connected to them, connects to them. Like, they can feel the spirit in the painting. So, and I had another art buyer say that when she looks at my art, she can see the movement and the emotion and the action and all that in the flow. Because when I paint my original art, I do I have my lines and my shapes and everything. Even though it's cubist, I try to make sure everything's flowing and connected in some way. So yeah, it's a lot of emotion involved in that whole side. It's sometimes where I paint the original art, that after I'm painting, I'm exhausted and literally weak almost, because I feel like so much internally has come out of me, as far as vision and my spirit and what God is trying to show me through my art. I'm trying to find a balance where I can even put that in some of my decor, because even the home decor stuff, the furniture, the art, the lamps, the mirrors, that's going to be in people's homes. So I want them to feel inspired and peaceful and pleasant when they look at my lamp. If my lamp is lighting up their home, I want it to be a beautiful experience even with that. So I think it's all meant together, if that makes sense, where just who you are as a person comes out in what you create. Hope that was a good answer.
Are there any other online questions? Do we have time for one more?
I do have Maria asking, can we connect with you via LinkedIn?
Sure, definitely. I would love for all the students to reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is on LinkedIn, Norman Wyatt Jr. So I have on a red shirt, so you'll be able to see me. Norman Wyatt Jr. And anyone listening, please create a LinkedIn account and grow that and grow that. Like connect. Don't just follow people. Go to that button to the right and literally connect with as many people as possible. Like especially other interior designers, other artists, other creatives, but anybody, people in finance industry, all this everybody try to grow and grow and grow your connections because that's more people watching you and seeing what you create. So yeah, LinkedIn has been I tell people I need to get paid by LinkedIn because I promote it so much. It's just I made this lifestyle deal I have right now. Once again, reached out to the CEO on LinkedIn and he responded. So it's been life changing. I was invited to a Hallmark Mahogany event a couple of weeks ago, and I'm speaking to a crowd of a Hallmark event. And once again, I'm connected with the vice president of Hallmark on LinkedIn, and we just followed each other. And she sent me an invite to be a speaker. So get serious about LinkedIn.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have one more?
I have like a ton more, but I was looking through them, and one that several students wanted to ask was they wanted to know what the most expensive artwork that you have. I don't know if they're wanting to buy.
Well, yeah.
Know what's out there.
At this point, my original art, my largest piece might sell for about 6,000. And I sold one not too long ago for 5,800. So it's one of those things where that grows too. Like, one mistake that some emerging artists make is starting off too low and too high, but too high is really not good because, you want to give yourself room to grow based on your level of expertise and years. There's no set limit on what you charge. I mean, someone might want to pay thousands and thousands for your art. But I remember starting off, out of high school, out of college in the 800 to 1,000 range, and they was selling. And then a gallery that I was working with pushed it up to like 2,000, and they started selling a lot. And so now I'm selling them directly mostly. I do have a gallery I work with out of Kentucky, but at this point, I usually sell everything I post directly on Facebook, Instagram, and someone usually reaches out, and they usually sell. So at this point, my highest, like a very large picture, like a 48 by 60, might be around 6,000. But with the growth of the lifestyle collection, I've been telling people interested in my original art to please purchase now. And it's not just like trying to self-promote, like to try to sell a lot, but I'm trying to tell them that what I'm working on and the direction of everything will adjust my original prices. So please purchase now because I'm expecting them to gradually and consistently go up to the 10,000 plus range soon. So it's possible to make a good living off the original art too, and to have a following that you just got to constantly keep growing and growing. But right now, just to answer your question, the highest prices right now, like in the 5,000 to 6,000 range.
Okay.
You heard it here. Go out and get those Wyatt Juniors now. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just sold one not too long ago, and I have two that I just finished. And a lot of times I know we got to go, but I figured it out too why stuff does change because now I have less time to create original art. So then when I do create a painting, the value is a little different than it was before because it's a little more, exclusive to the point of when I can get stuff done. So.
Yes, time. I love, sneaking that art in while you're working, if you've got to work a day job.
Oh yeah.
That's a key
Take
point.
care of your bills. Take care of your bills. Like it's nothing wrong with having a full-time job or even a part-time job while you're growing your other business. I tell people mentally to switch it though, where the actual structured job, you call that your side gig, and your interior design business or your art business, that's your job. Because how you think of yourself and what you see yourself doing usually determines where you end up going. So I've always visualized myself as being a designer. Even in high school, like I was walking around thinking of myself as being a designer and a fashion designer. I was like best dressed in high school. And just because of like not trying to, I just was into all of those type of things, just always creating. I was business minded even in elementary and high school, selling my art to teachers and all that. So to end up here is a lot of stuff is already in you. It's just a matter of, those steps being ordered and finding those avenues to get to where you've always kind of visualized yourself.
Thank you so much for joining us. And
no problem. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
yes,
And I definitely would like to make a real trip to the school. So I don't know if you have it in spring or have the same class in spring, but I could plan a little bit better and try to make an actual visit this time.
Awesome. Yeah, you're now part of the TSU family. So
that's awesome. I'm glad to be.
we'll take you anytime.
Thank you.
You for spending time with us today. If you're a TSU student and you have availability tonight, 5 to 7 reception at the Hiram Van Gordon Gallery. What's Found Around and Scrounged by Nico McDaniels. Thank you.
And anybody, not to cut you off, but anyone follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and you can ask me questions directly if you didn't get a chance to ask questions. But my Instagram, Norman Wyatt Jr. Artist, and then Facebook, Norman Wyatt Jr.
Yes.
Each of those I have the red shirt on. So please follow me so I can answer you any questions directly. And if you ever need any mentorship or anything in the future.
Yeah, introduce yourself to them. Make sure, tell them you're a TSU student and yeah, make those connections. Thank you so much, Norman.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.